أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الحمد لله واسع الجود والكرم ومسبغ الآلاء والنعم. Praise be to God, Lord of vast generosity and infinite goodness, who showers constantly down upon us beautiful bounties and blessings. أنعم علينا بنعمة الإيجاد والإمداد ونعمة الهدى والرشاد. He has graciously bestowed upon us the blessings of existence and continuity in existence. He gave us the blessing of guidance and sound discernment. نحمده تعالى في هذا اليوم العظيم بنعمة هذا اليوم الكريم ونشكره ونستغفره ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أكبر الناس نفسا وأنداهم كفا وأطيبهم قلبا وأحسنهم خلقا وخلقا. We praise God, may He be exalted, on this great, wonderful, and blessed day. We give Him thanks and ask His forgiveness. We bear witness that there is no God but God. He is one and has no partner. We bear witness that our noble Lord Muhammad, may God extol him and grant him perfect peace, is God's servant and messenger, the most magnanimous of all humankind in soul and spirit, the most open-handed of them all in generosity, the purest of them all in heart, and the most beautiful of them all in outward form and inward character. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Only through divine revelation can we discover the meaning of life and the true nature of things. Allah says in the eternal, majestic Quran, وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَظَلُومٌ كَفَّارٌ. And God has given you of all that you have asked Him. When you endeavor, were you to endeavor to count the blessing of God, you could never enumerate it. The human being is truly most unjust and utterly ungrateful. God says in a shorter but similar complementary verse, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Were you to endeavor to count the blessing of God, you could never enumerate it. God is truly all-forgiving and most merciful. From the time the first verse was revealed, it was understood that it contained an ellipsis, as so many other Quranic verses do. An ellipsis is something understood but left out. And so we were told from the earliest generations that we should understand it as وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ وَلَمْ تَسْأَلُوهُ. And God has given you of all that you have asked of Him, and by ellipsis, and all that you have never asked of Him at all. This verse reminds us and brings clearly to our attention that what God has given us is vast and beyond measure, even if it were a single blessing, and even if we just look at one blessing, we would never be able to enumerate all of the facets of it and everything that is related to it. And there are things that we need and that we ask for and that we want and that we yearn for and we live for. And Allah will always give us something of that, or all of that, or something better. He will give it to us sooner or later according to His wisdom. But there are so many things that we never even think of, and each of them is a marvel in itself. We have to call to mind all of these blessings that we have that are infinite. The ability to breathe, the fact that we have 5 senses that work, the blessing of being able to chew and to swallow, the blessing of being able to digest and ingest food and drink, the fact that we were created upright with noble stature and beautiful form, the fact that we have thumbs on our fingers so that we can make tools and build buildings like this or instruments like these. These are all things that we never even asked for. We don't ask God for the ability to chew or the ability to swallow or the ability to blink our eyes or to keep our hearts beating. And then there are thousands and thousands and thousands of other blessings that were all made for us and we never even think of, like the ivy that's on the walls of the buildings, or like the sun and the moon, the alteration of the day and the night, the changing of the seasons, the trees that produce oxygen so that we can breathe. All of these also are of the blessings of God. And they are of those things that we generally never even ask about and we never even think about. Abu Darda, may Allah be pleased with him, said, من لم يرى نعمة الله إلا في مطعمه ومشربه فقد قل علمه وحضر عذابه. He said, Abu Darda, whoever cannot see God's blessing but in his food and drink has little knowledge, very little knowledge indeed, and stands on the threshold of his punishment, which is at hand. In the 2 verses that we mentioned at the beginning, you may have noticed that the word blessing is singular, ni'mat Allah. It's not ni'am Allah. It is a singular, a single blessing of Allah. And all the commentaries note that it means all the blessings of God. But it is distinctly put in the singular. It refers, of course, also to God's act of generous giving, in'am. But it means that even if you look at one single blessing, any one, no matter how small it is, of the infinite blessings that are you and that surround you, you would never be able to enumerate its facets, its dimensions, and all of the supplementary, complementary blessings that go to make it possible. None of these blessings, which are the harmony of ourselves and the lives that we lead, is in isolation. Every one of them is part of a chorus that sings together. And we have to be aware of that. However, there is one blessing which is the greatest blessing of all. And that is the blessing of the creation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the sending of him to all the worlds. And so some of the commentators say that is the blessing. And every other blessing is simply a peripheral commentary on it. Sa'ad al-Tustari said, may Allah be pleased with him, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ بِمُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تحصوها. And if you were to endeavor to count the single blessing of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam upon you all, you would never be able to enumerate it. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make us conscious of our blessings and to make us conscious of the infinite blessings in the Prophet himself sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the honor that we believe in him. We belong to him, and through belonging to him we belong to the whole universe at the most noble level of all. And that means we have a lot of work to do, and we have to be worthy of him. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make us that way. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Walillahi alhamd. The gracious Quran teaches us, calls to our attention, and reminds us by these two verses and many, many others that God deserves everything from us. Every moment, every breath, every eyesight, everything that we do, we must be filled with thanks. And we must be conscious of our inability to give the thanks that he deserves, Azza wa Jal. Our lives must be conscious of him. They must be lives of devotion. They must be lives of worship. And not just worship in beautiful prayer and fasting, but making worship everything that we do, every footstep that we take, every breath that we breathe. The Arabic says, La tuhsuha. You can't count the blessings. And if you tried to count the blessings, you would not be able to enumerate them. La tuhsuha. And we think, of course, of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But etymologically in Arabic, the word ahsa, to enumerate, is connected to the word hasal, which means pebble. And that's because of the fact that the ancient Arabs, who did not have numerals, who did not have mathematics, things that they will develop with us later in Islamic history, they would count with pebbles. And how would they do that? Every time they came to 10, they would put down a pebble. 20, a second pebble. 30, a third pebble. That's the way they did difficult calculations, so that they could always remember what is the number they arrived at, and also it enabled them to add without arithmetic and mathematics, not even having numerals like we have today. And what does this mean? It also means that when you think of the blessings of Allah, count them by tens, not by ones. Count them by hundreds, not by tens. Count them by thousands and not by hundreds, because that is the reality of the sea of infinite blessings that you live in from breath to breath and moment to moment. Our tests can be difficult. Our times can be unpleasant. Our ummah can fail to know who and what it is and to live up to its challenge and to be the light of civilization, carrying the guiding light of the Prophet ﷺ that it was meant to be. And yet we must never forget this reality of how great the blessings of Allah upon us are and how great the responsibility. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم ورب حليم. May God bless us and all of you through the glorious Quran. May God benefit us and all of you through God's signs and his wise remembrance. Truly God, exalted be he, is generous and kind, a just king, ruler of the world. He fulfills his promises. He is compassionate and merciful and all forbearing. Lord, astaghfirullah, ask God's forgiveness. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي بتحميده يستفتح كل أمر حكيم، وبذكره يتنعم أهل النعيم واليقين. هو الأول في الأزل قبل خلق المكونات من غير أول ولا بداية، وهو الآخر في الأبد بعد ثناء المكونات والأزمان بغير آخر ولا نهاية. Praise be to God, in whose praise good beginnings are opened for every matter of wisdom and consequence, and in whose remembrance the people of certain faith and eternal felicity enjoy infinite pleasure. He is the first, al-awwal, in pre-existence before the creation of all first and last existing things, and before the creation of time, space, and place, without himself having a first time or a beginning. He is the last and akhir in eternal everlastingness, after the obliteration of all existing things and all former times, without himself having a final time or an end. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Allah teaches us in his eternal Quran, يَسْأَلُهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ هُوَ فِي شَأْنٍ. All who are in the heavens and the earth ask God alone for every need. Each day and every moment, God is executing some marvelous task for every single thing in creation. Everything in creation, from highest to lowest, from greatest to smallest, those that have the ability to speak and make sounds, and those that don't have the ability to speak and make sounds and are silent, those that are intelligent, and those that show no signs of intelligence, those that believe and those that choose to disbelieve, all of them, ironically and counterintuitively, constantly ask God and God alone for their needs in every successive moment of every day and night of their existence. Every being and every part of every being, every atom, every molecule, every cell engages in this cosmic act, that every moment they petition their Lord and they ask him to give them continuity, to give them what they need, to let them keep going, to let them succeed, to let them have the things they want, to let them walk the paths that they want to walk. And this is true of everything, and especially of this human being. This human being who was created to worship and to know God, and that is his or her instinct, and he or she cannot escape it. They can cover it over, they can ignore it, they can deny it, but it always remains their ultimate reality and their every act and every moment, whether they are conscious or not, whether they do it in a way that pleases God and brings them near, or that displeases God and puts them at a distance. Whether they are muwahidun, who know Him in His right as God alone, or whether they are mushrikun, whether they are people who associate other things with Him as if they too were divine. Whether they are people of the garden or people of the fire. Some ask God in certain ways and others ask Him in others. And what we must do is to make our asking the best that it can possibly be. And that requires us waking up and seeing the majesty of the miracle of life and existence and being around us. In God's creation, there are those who ask Him in the heavens, and they are the vast majority of all created beings. And they are known to us as angels or angelic forms created from light. The angels are created directly. They are direct acts of God without any intermediation of matter. They're not born of mother and father. They're not created out of minerals or plants. They are simply made. He says, be, and there they are. Some of them go into prostration immediately. They are called the muhayyamun, the angels that are lost in the infinite rapture of God. They go into sajda and they never come up until the day of judgment. These beings, they worship God without a veil. And that's because there never was for them a veil. They are not created in things. They do not depend on the world of phenomena. In fact, they have a special role in the world of phenomena. And so therefore, they are never deluded and never blinded to the reality of the Creator in His glory, although they can never know His glory the way that you can. And that's because of the fact that what they do is priceless, but it is their very natures to do that. And they ask Him that He give them the sustenance of their spirits and the power to ask forgiveness from you and to do the acts that are required of them in creation. Then there are many different askers who ask in many different ways, and these are the people of the earth. These are you and me and human beings. These are the jinn. And these are also many other things as well, even the minerals, the plants, and the animals. But among human beings, these askers also have many different ways of asking. All of them are created in the world of phenomena. All of them are produced directly by God, but they don't know that, because their production is always tied to asbab, to the nexuses, the links, the nexuses of cause and effect, of apparent cause and effect. That we have mothers, we have fathers, we have grandmothers and grandfathers, we have ancestry. We have to have milk, we have to have food, we have to have drink, we have to have clothing, we have to have warmth, we have to have money, we have to have all these things. So our test is to know God in the world of asbab, to know Him in the world of these nexuses, which are veils of power. That's all they are. The food, the drink, all these countless blessings that we love and need, every one of them is an illusion. Every one of them is ambiguous. It is a veil of power. God's power works through them. And so among the people of the earth, there are those who lift the veil. The veil never blinds them. And they always know that these things, however wondrous they are, however great they are, however much we have to take care of them and use them, they are veils of power. They do not point just to themselves. They point beyond themselves to their Maker, to Rabbul Asbab, the Lord of the nexuses, the Musabbib, the great causer of all cause and effect. And these people are the messengers and the prophets, perfect human beings. And they are also the great men and women of the saints, the awliya of Allah, in whom we all believe and are required to believe. And the highest of these awliya are the people who see through the veils. They are not taken in by the sorcery of the world of phenomena. When Moses goes to Pharaoh, he throws his staff and God makes it a snake. That's not sorcery. When the sorcerers come, they take ropes and they throw their ropes, and their ropes look like snakes in the people's eyes, but they're not. They're just ropes. And this is illusion and delusion. Moses is not a sorcerer, so he at first is frightened. And that's why the sorcerers knew that he is no sorcerer, because he was frightened. A sorcerer would never be that way. They know the game they play. And that's why they knew that if this man defeats us, he is indeed a messenger, and we will believe in him. And they did, and you know the story. But most people, they are like the common people who were deluded by the ropes of the magicians. And that's because they are under the spell of creation. They think that these things work on their own. They think that money is what makes them happy. They think that their big cars and their houses and the other things that they need and that they have are all they need. But these people, the messengers, the prophets, the saints of Allah at the highest level, they free themselves. And in the first cases, they are always free of this deception. And then among people, there are also others who live in the world of the asbab. We are created in that. It is so hard for us to free ourselves of them. And they know in their hearts, because they've recited the Quran and they've been taught this so much, that this is not really what counts. It is God who counts. He is the Lord of everything. And they know about the miracles of the prophets. And they believe in the miracles of the prophets. But they don't understand the miracles of the prophet. And they always are going back and forth between the spell of creation and the reality of God. And these are people who also call upon the law. But they do it from behind a veil. And their asking is not the most polite, nor is it the most pleasing. If they are believers and muwahidun, then Allah is very merciful to them, and He accepts that. And some of them are better than others. And they have different degrees and different stations. And then there are those who are deluded by the asbab, by the nexuses of creation, of apparent cause and effect, who never see through them, ever. And these people call upon the asbab. These people live for money, live for career, live for big houses, live for fame, live for power, live for ego. All of these are asbab. And they never know that instinctively, everything they are seeking and everything that they think they need, whether good or bad, acceptable or not, is actually a petition of God Himself, whom they instinctively know. There was a woman that we met years ago at the University of Michigan. She was a feminist, she was an atheist, she was a law student, she was divorced, she had a little boy. She denied God and she denied religion. And one day, we and some other Muslims were talking to her, and she had a little boy. And the little boy got far away from her, he was playing, it was a beautiful day. He got out in a street like that street across there, full of cars. And he began to go into the street. And a car was coming down the street so fast, he would be killed by it. And his mother didn't notice until it was too late, and she turned and she said, "Oh my God!" Because that's her reality. She's always saying that. And she never knows it and she never admits it. When you call upon God in great need, He will always answer. The car slammed on its brakes, there was dust and commotion, but the baby escaped. But this is our reality, this ironic reality. The verse says that every day God is engaged in an amazing shepherd. And here we have to understand the problems of translation. The word yawm in Arabic, which we translate as day, that's only one of its meanings in Arabic. In Arabic, the yawm is any period of time. Whether it is big or small, long or short, in which something of great significance occurs. The ancient Arabs talked about ayyamul Arab, the days of the Arabs. And these were not days, they were battles. They were feuds. But they were days in which the tribes showed their greatness and their victory and their manhood and so forth. One of the great Arabs, he says, "Ad-dahru yawman, yawmun nu'min wa yawmun bu's." All of time, from beginning to the end, is just 2 days. A day of great blessing and a day of great harm. Some of our scholars say that all of time is just a couple of days. One day is the dunya, which is the time of giving existence. God's she'an, His amazing act in that day, is that He brings things into existence and takes them out of existence. He gives life, He gives death, He gives provision, He takes it away. He gives guidance, He gives knowledge. He denies that also to people who don't want it. Okay, so this is a yawm. And the other day is the day of reckoning, the day of resurrection, which for the disbeliever is like 50,000 years. And that is the day where the she'an is reward and reckoning. May Allah make us on the right side that day. So there are many days. And the day that is referred to in this verse is not the day that is marked by the rise and setting of the sun. This day is called a day because of that marvelous miracle. Didn't you notice? The sun came up and the sun set. Okay? But the yawm is just any period of time in which something incredible occurs. And here the yawm that is meant, and you'll see that the commentators all understood this from the earliest time, is even a moment. And in fact, many of them say it is a single breath. It is every breath. It is in every moment of time, in every glance that we take. Every day We are in the hands of God, and between the fingers of God, the most merciful. He turns us up and down. He does to us whatever He wills. Azza wa Jal, at every moment, in every breath, He is Al-Khallaq Al-Azim. He is the great Creator, and there is no other Creator but He. تراقب الصبح إذا تنفس واحذر الليل إذا عسعس فإنه أبلس فيه من أبلس. So turn your attention, be attentive. Each morning that breathes, and each night that succeeds, for in it those are reduced to a diabolical state who were not there before. And those are also lifted up who were not lifted up before. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to awaken us, to enable us to fulfill the task in His amazing task as Creator for which He created us. He created all the world for whose sake? For your sake. Because you are the cosmic pivot. You are the one who is supposed to do the work. And all creation is moved by you. All creation is uplifted by you. And if we turn our backs, then all creation is destroyed by us. When Allah wills to destroy this world at the end of time, what does He do? He takes all the people like you out of it. All the people who believe in God, and even those who just say, Allah, Allah, Allah. God, God, God. There's no one who says that anymore. No one who asks in a polite way. And when that's the case, the two twins cease to be in the sky. And there is no day anymore that is worthy of the night. The sun and the moon are gone, and the new day begins, which is the resurrection and the reckoning. May Allah bring us to life. May He wake us up. May He enable us to see the Sha'n Ilahi, the divine, amazing task in every breath you take. You are always changing. You are always new. Nothing in creation ever remains the same. Everything is renewed at every moment. You just can't see it. Its attributes are changed. They're never the same that they were before. You only have amthal and aldad. You have things that are similar. The ivy leaf looks just like it did when I first looked at it 10 minutes ago, but it's not. It's different. Nothing can continue to exist in this creation on its own for 2 continuous moments and 2 continuous breaths. You're always changing. God is always working in you. Look at the marvel of yourself. See how God works in your life. Begin to pay attention to Him. And then we will give Him thanks, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and obey Him and be what we are supposed to be. We ask Allah to make us people that see beyond the veil and that understand the truth and can live that truth and take it to the people of our time. Our ummah is in desperate loss. Our ummah, with the exception of only very few men and women who are pillars, have turned their back on the task and have no idea even what it is. You don't have an excuse. You live in incredible circumstances. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Man asbaha aminan fi sirbihi, mu'afan fi jasadihi, lahu qutu yawmihi, faqad hizat lahu dunya bihadafiriha. That anyone who wakes up in the morning being safe in himself and in his home and in his family. Are you afraid when you walk out of the door? Some people in Chicago are, but maybe you're not. They're safe. They have health. Do you have health? Most of us do. Some of us do not. May Allah make us healthy. And have all that you need to eat and drink for that day, and you have been given the dunya and everything in it, because the King himself cannot ask for more than that. So we ask Allah to wake us up, to enable us to give thanks. He gives us more than we could possibly ever fulfill, but He is content with very little in return. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Walillahi alhamd. الحمد لله الذي أحسن بلطفه كل شيء بدأه وأتقن صنع كل شيء أنشأه. الحمد لله الظاهر في علوه بقهره عن غير بعد، والباطن في جنوده بقربه من دون مس. Praise be to God, who made beautifully everything that He originated in creation, and everything is always a new origination. In His subtle kindness and His infinite mercy, who made perfectly everything in this world and brought it forth into existence. Praise be to God, who is the manifest of Allah. There's nothing more manifest than Him, even though you can't see Him. He is so manifest, He is hidden. Praise be to God, who is manifest in His highness by virtue of His all-compelling power, without being physically far away. Praise be to God, who is hidden. He is al-batin, and there's nothing more hidden than He. In His closeness by virtue of His nearness without physical contact. قال الله تعالى في شأن حبيبه المصطفى المختار: نعمة الله العظمى بين جميع النعم صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا ونبينا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته وأهل بيته أجمعين. اللهم بك نستعين فأعنا، وبك نستغيث فأغثنا، وعليك توكلنا فاكفنا يا كافكفنا المهمات في أمر الدنيا والآخرة. أعوذ بالله من شر الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم استرنا بسترك الجميل. اللهم استرنا بسترك الجميل. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. اللهم لا تفضحنا بين عبادك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم يا الله 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 بجاه أسماء الله وصفات الله وأنبياء الله ورسل الله والصالحين من عباد الله. اللهم قضي حوائجنا ظاهرا وباطنا. نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر. ولله الحمد. والسلام عليكم. May you have a beautiful day, and may all of your days and nights forever be beautiful in this world and the next. Amen.